Many years ago, I was in college and I had to fill out a form that kind of talked about myself. And when I was thinking about who am I, what really makes up Jacqueline, because back then I wasn't Mrs. Miller, I was Jacqueline Umpierre. So what makes Jacqueline Jacqueline? Well, my mom was a single mom. She raised 3 of us, all girls, and I had 2 other aunts, and they had 4 daughters, so it was 7 girls in the same house, raised by 3 women who were really strong, because my mom lost her mom when she was 8 years old. So they kind of had to raise their younger siblings. And I feel like when I was filling out that form, I kept thinking about my family. And then I would think about my friends and the experiences that I had with my friends. And I felt like, well, it's not just my family, my friends also influenced me, right? And then I think more, and I kept thinking more, and I was like, well, I had teachers who really cared about me, and I also had teachers who didn't care about me at all. And so that also influenced me, and that also made me who I was. And so when you think about it, we're born and this is who we are. We're influenced by everything that happens around us, right? It either makes us or breaks us. But when we have Jesus in our heart, or when we have Jesus because we don't really know that he's there, he still makes us, right? I was 6 years old when my family decided to move to the States. I was born in Puerto Rico, and my mom didn't have a future in Puerto Rico, so she decided to move to Buffalo, New York, out of all places. So cold, next to Niagara Falls. If you've never been there, you should. It's awesome. But she decided to move, but my dad, they were not together at the time, but he kind of raised my older sisters and myself up to that point, told her, if you leave Puerto Rico, I don't want to know anything about my daughter. I don't want to know her anymore. So when you think about it, that also kind of influenced me as well. My father's passed away already now. He passed away when he was 80 years old from Alzheimer's, but my kids got to know him. But I didn't really get to grow up with my dad. When I moved to Buffalo, I didn't really know the situation with my mom and my dad and how he told her those words, but she decided to still go because she really wanted a future for her kids and a future for herself. She struggled, but she worked night schools. She went to night school and she worked at the same time. And me being an 80s kid, obviously I was raised by TV. But she worked really hard, and I wrote letters to my dad. I wrote letters, I miss you, I miss my older brother, I miss everybody in Puerto Rico, I love you. And I wouldn't get a letter back, and I didn't understand why. I write again, I miss you, I love you, I want to see you, I want to see my brother. And I wouldn't get a letter back. So one day my mom was crying in the living room with my 2 aunts. And I was like, what's happening? Why are they crying? And my mom told me, I'm really sorry, but your dad doesn't want you to write him anymore. And I felt like, did I do something wrong? I'm 6 years old. Well, by then I was 7. I'm 7 years old. Did I do something wrong? But I didn't. It was his loss, right? Jeremiah 29 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. plans to prosper, not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. When I was 7 years old, I didn't really know that. I didn't really know God either. We weren't raised in a Christian home, but we were raised knowing that God existed. He did exist. And so we needed to respect the fact that Papa Dios, as we said in Spanish, existed, right? But we didn't live a life that was Christian, or we didn't go to church on a specific day, and we didn't worship God at home or anything like that. But we still knew He existed. And yet He says here, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Fast forward, we moved from Buffalo, New York 3.5 years later, and we moved to Chicago. Yes, Chicago. Nice place, Chicago. My kind of town, Chicago. We moved there. It was rough because I didn't have my cousins anymore. So it was really a hard time for me to adjust. When we moved to Chicago, I had to change from ESL. I was in a bilingual class at the time, and I had to change from ESL to straight English. And that was tough. I didn't know a lot of English, and I didn't have my cousins' support who were my age. So I had my older sisters, but they kind of adjusted a little bit faster than I did. It was a little bit tougher for me. When I finally got to middle school, well, no, not middle school, 5th grade. When I got to 5th grade, we kept moving every year. My mom had to leave place to place because of the schools that she was going to or the different jobs that she had. She just had to be closer to them, so we had to move a lot, which also influenced me because I'm not scared of change. I've had it so much in my life that I'm not afraid of it. But because we moved so much, I never really had a tight family or a set of kids that I can say, well, these are my besties, these are my best friends, right? I didn't really have that. And so every year I was the new kid. And it was really tough because I was really small. I know, I look so tall now, I know, guys. Believe it or not, I was shorter than this. But yeah, I was really small, and I went into a school that was in a really bad neighborhood because we lived in a really bad neighborhood. And I was in 5th grade, but there were not that many kids in 5th grade, and the school was small enough where 4th and 5th were in class together. And apparently all the popular girls were in 4th grade, and I didn't know, and I didn't get the message or the memo about that. But as soon as I came in, something about me was not the right thing, right? Something about me was not right. And so they instantly hated me, which is okay, except for the fact that when I would go home, they would follow me, kick me, throw bottles at me, and just make me feel like I didn't want to exist anymore. And so it was really tough. It wasn't easy. But God says, I have plans not to harm you, but to give you hope and future, right? Well, I had a wonderful teacher. The school was starting to grow. The girls were bullying me. I told the teacher. She didn't do anything about it. She just sat us together and said, well, we really need to think about how we treat each other and treat others as you want them to treat you. And she told that to all of us, including myself, even though I was the one getting bullied. So I felt like, did she really care about me, or did she just try to say that she did her job, right? A new 5th grade teacher came, and she put me under her wings. Our classes were separated, so I was able to be with her, and she cared for me, she loved me, she listened to me, and she made me feel like someone in that school wanted me to be there, right? And for me, that is one of the most important things that I can think about, feeling like people want you to be there, especially when your dad rejects you and when kids who are your age reject you, right? So I wanted to feel wanted. I wanted to feel like I was a part of something. So when I was in 6th grade, I had a friend who was not of good influence, but she accepted me, and she introduced me to other people. And so she would take me to places, and we would drink. And she introduced me to people that were from a specific gang, and they accepted me, and they wanted me. And so I said, yeah, I'll be a part of you guys. And what they don't tell you, though, is that if you want to be a part of us, you got to do what we tell you. And so I was really young in middle school and then in high school when I joined a gang. And in order to join, you have to get beat up. You don't get to defend yourself. You just have to sit there and take it. And they will beat you with anything that they have at hand. To kind of prove that you are tough enough or that you can make it into their place. And so I made it. I got in. And then I had to do the things that they wanted me to do, like sell drugs and stand in the corner and not be in school and do the things that they wanted me to do, right? But they accepted me, right? That's what I wanted. At least that's what I thought I wanted at the time. One day, I was a sophomore, and at this point, being a sophomore, it was almost the end of the school year. It was June. In Chicago, they end school in mid-June. And there's also this big Hispanic festival that everyone just goes out. So it's a little bit dangerous because everyone just is drinking and is going crazy, and kids are not going to school because it's summertime. They don't want to go to school, right? And me and my friends were going in the bus, and we were coming out of the bus, and these bunch of girls start screaming at us, and they're from a different gang, and they're like just spitting all of these things at us, and we have to defend our gang and all this stuff, right? And so we get out of the bus, and we're gonna fight, and they're like, whoa, let's meet tomorrow, and we're gonna fight and get more of your crew, and this is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna fight, and we gotta prove, who's the better gang and all this stuff. Nonsense, whatever. But that was my life. That's all I knew. So we said we were gonna do it. So the next day come, we have things to fight with and defend our honor. And we come, and one of the girls, these girls are so young. Every time I think about it right now, these girls are so young. I was so young, 15. The girls came in prepared. One of them was pregnant, maybe 5 months pregnant. Belly was like up to here. I really couldn't tell. It looked like about 5 months pregnant. And she's about to fight. And I'm looking at everything, but I don't know if you've ever had that moment in your life where you are somewhere, but really your mind is seeing it from a different perspective, and you're just looking around and you're just like, wait a minute, what's happening? Where am I? What is going on? That's how I was. And these girls just start talking to each other, and the girls that were with me, everyone's just spitting so many things. And my heart, and I had been in fights before already, but my heart on that moment, I don't know what came over me, but I just felt so uncomfortable and like I didn't belong there anymore. And I kept hearing a voice saying, this is not what I planned for you. This is not where I want you to be. And I just kept listening to the girls, and I see the girl just pregnant. I'm just thinking in my head, like, am I supposed to be in charge of this person's unborn child's life? Like, what if something happened? I mean, am I supposed to be responsible for whatever happens to this girl who's pregnant and is about to fight me because she doesn't care? And then one of the other girls all of a sudden starts screaming, and she's like, out of nowhere, but I know that it was because God did it. She's just like, I don't care about God. God doesn't exist, because if God existed, my brother would still be alive. And she just starts spitting, and she's just like, every word that she said is just against God, and she's just bad-mouthing God. And my heart was like, get out of there right now. Like, I could hear so clearly God talking to me at that moment and telling me, get out now. This is not the plans I had for you. This is not where you belong. You need to get out right now. And I didn't know what to do, but my body reacted and my body started moving away. And I had like a couple of miles before I could get to my house. And I left, and they kept saying things, and I didn't care what they were saying. I didn't care what I was hearing. My voice in my head told me, get out. You need to get out. And so I left, and I started walking, and I walked, and I walked, and I walked, and I walked until I got to my house. And in my house, my cousin was there. She surprised me. She came from Florida. She was Seventh-day Adventist, or is Seventh-day Adventist. She came from Florida, and we always visited each other in the summers, and she came as a surprise early. My mom had that surprise for me because I'd been getting in trouble in school, and I almost got kicked out of school and stuff. And so she came, and she's just, hey, how are you? I miss you so much, And we just sat there, and she had no idea what just had happened. And she started talking to me about God and her experiences in church and how God was just working in her life. And I just started crying because I told her, that's what I want. I want to be with God. And I feel like God is calling me right now. And I don't know what to do because I'm in a gang, and you can't just get out of a gang. You have to pay a fee, and you have to get beat up again. And that's if they allow it. And so I didn't know what to do, but I knew that I could not be in Chicago anymore, that I needed to get out. And I went to my mom and I asked her, I don't know what to do, but I feel in my heart that I want to be with God and that I want to change. And being emotional like me, she starts crying, and she's like, well, we can do this. Call your aunt, let her know, and if she's okay with it, I'm okay with it, because this is what's best for you. And so I call my aunt. She allows me to live with her, so I lived with her for my last 2 years of high school. So I moved to Florida, and I lived there. But then when it was time to graduate, my aunt says, well, something happened with my sister, and then my aunt just said, when you graduate, you're going to go back to Chicago. And so here I was, so scared, and thinking, I can't go back. If I go back, I'm going to find the same people. In my neighborhood, in my house, my next door neighbor was from a different gang. We got along, but there was always rivalry and drive-bys and shoot, And so I didn't want to go back to Chicago, because I thought, if I go back, I'm not going to be able to be with God. I'm not going to be able to, thank you. I'm not going to be able to be with God, because I'm going to go back to my old ways. I don't have the strength. But Proverbs 3:5-6. Sorry, I can't. Says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make a straight path for you. God was preparing a way. Even though I didn't want to go back to Chicago, that was actually the best thing that happened to me. Because going back to Chicago, I was the most dependent on God that I had ever been in my entire life. Because I was so scared that I would run into people that I knew from before and that I would go back to that life, that I just prayed every day, built a relationship stronger than ever with God, because I wanted to lean on his strength, not my own. And I think that that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because it taught me to build a relationship with God, because God doesn't want us to just read the Bible and learn his memory verses and just think about it and then pray in tradition. And he wants us to build a relationship with him. He wants us to trust him. He wants us to have faith in him and know that he will provide a solution every single time. And that if he doesn't, it's because it's for our better. And that we should trust that. I went back to Chicago. I never ran into any of the people that I knew from before that were in the same gang. I ran into a friend of mine that knew them, and I asked that friend, I got out, I don't know what happened, I don't know what to do. And she said, oh, don't worry about it. A bunch of them got out around the same time, so no one really knows where anybody is, and no one's looking for anybody. And I just feel like God made that happen, because that doesn't happen. So many moments in my life, I've had to trust God, but I know that he loves me. Why? Because he sought me out. I didn't look for God. I wasn't looking for someone to hold me or to tell me what to do. I was living my life looking for people that loved me, people that would care for me, people that would accept me and would make me a part of their family or their group. But God was looking for me. He came looking for me. And so I know with all of my body and soul that God loves me. And if he loves me, someone who did so many bad things, how much more would he love you? When I got married and we had our 3 kids, years later, Annalie was in kindergarten, 2015. We got pregnant again. And I wanted to know what the baby was, but every time we would check, the baby was turned, so you couldn't see what the sex of the baby was. And I was like, I have to know. We have 3 girls. I want to know. What are we going to get? What are we going to get? But in my heart, I felt, it's a boy. I know it's a boy. That's what I felt in my heart, guys. That's what I felt. Don't judge me. I felt it. And in my head, I had, this baby's name is going to be Jacob, because my name is Jacqueline, which comes from Jacob. And so I said, my baby's name is going to be Jacob. When I was about 6 months pregnant, the baby was supposed to be born in September. When I was about 6 months pregnant, I had a routine checkup, and my husband had to take the girls to school, so he was going to meet me in the hospital afterwards. But when I was there, they did the sonogram. The nurse stayed quiet, and I felt in my heart, something's wrong. Something is not right. She stayed quiet, and I said, is everything okay? I don't hear the heart. Oh, the doctor's going to be right here. Don't worry about it. Something told me. This is my 4th child, guys. Something's not right. The doctor came back and said, and I said, hey, is everything okay? Oh, they didn't tell you? The baby's not alive. The baby died. And I just thought, no one told me. You just told me. And my heart broke like you can never imagine. It's the worst thing any parent can go through. I was 6 months pregnant, and then I found out that my baby died. My husband wasn't there, and so they had to put me in a different room and calm me down and call my husband to come and comfort me. But there was a midwife there. Bless her heart. She was with me, and she just talked me through it and tried to give me peace and just comfort me until my husband got there. Statistically speaking, 1 in every 160 pregnancies ends as a stillborn, and that's what we were. I had to go immediately to the hospital, and they had to induce my labor. They thought that it was going to take a long time, but I don't take a lot of medication, so as soon as they gave me the first one, I started feeling my labor pains. We had to give birth, and the baby wasn't going to be alive. So we had to go through the pain, and I say we because my husband went through every pain from every pregnancy. He was there every second of the way. But we had to go through the pain of giving birth and not having our baby. And I know that there are so many women that have gone through the same thing. So I know that I'm not alone. But at that moment, I felt alone. I felt so alone. And I couldn't find peace in my heart. But God had taken care of me up to that point, so why wouldn't He take care of me now? And actually, side note, He prepared me even though I didn't know it. When I was getting ready to go to the appointment, I was in my car. And God told me, brace yourself. But I'm with you. I am your fortress. And I have you. He told me that when I was in the car, and I was just like, brace myself, what's happening? But He was already trying to take care of me before I even knew the news. Because my baby was 24 weeks old, we had to bury the baby. The hospital doesn't take care of it, we had to do it. And we had to have a funeral, and I couldn't even function. My body thought that I gave birth. So my body reacted as if I had a baby, but I didn't have a baby. I couldn't look in the mirror. I couldn't look at anybody. I didn't want to talk to anybody. And I had to get ready for this funeral. But I think that was what gave me peace. Having to have the funeral actually gave me peace. I prayed and prayed and prayed, Lord. I don't know why, but I know that the plans that you have for me are for my good and for hope and in the future. I don't know why this happened, but I know that you have me. And the fact that we had to have a funeral, I got to say goodbye, and I got to feel peace. And after that day, I felt like David when he lost his child, his illegitimate child, that he was praying and praying and praying, Lord, please don't let anything happen to this child. Don't let anything happen to this child. And then the child died, and he said, I can't do anything more. I'm okay with the Lord. I felt like that. And for me, had you told me that before I knew God, I never would have imagined anybody ever feeling peace after something like that. But I did. I felt peace, the peace that only God can give you. No one else can give you that peace except for God. And I felt that peace in my heart, and I felt the hope that when I go to heaven, an angel is going to hand me my child, because that is the promise that God gave me. And so I felt that hope and that peace, that I know that, I don't know why, but I know that there was a reason. And the baby, he didn't have his kidneys. So it's sad, and I'm sad, but I know that the baby wouldn't have been happy living in a world sick and going to the doctor and maybe not living that many years either. And so I know that in his grace, he did that to help with the suffering. Second Corinthians 12:9 says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all of the more gladly of my weakness, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. In my weakness, you make me strong. In my weakness, I can show God through me. In my weakness, others can see God better, because my weakness makes me depend on Him more and more. And when I depend on God, everything is taken care of. And I don't mean what I want, I mean what I need. Because God knows what I need, just like He knows what you need. He's not here to give you all the luxuries that you wish in the world. He's here to give you the happiness that you need in this world. Because kids and parents, this world is full of suffering, and we are not exempt from it. We're God's children. When Jesus was here, He suffered. People spit on Him. They didn't like Him. They didn't love Him. They hated Him. We are His followers. This world's not going to love us. This world is not going to be fair to us, because we're human. We live in a world that's full of suffering, and it's full of pain, and it's full of people that don't love. But God gives us the strength to feel peace even when we don't have that love that we desire from people. People gives us the strength and the courage and the hope that one day He's going to come. And that day is coming soon. But I ask Him to lead us and help us to be prepared, because we live in a world where suffering is happening every day. We have family members who are far from us. We have wars that are going on. And even then, we still have peace, because we know that God is taking care of us, and that His Holy Spirit is with us, and that His angels are protecting us. But that's not going to be every day. But even on those days when those things don't happen, even if He doesn't spare us from those things, we need to have faith. Because if He took care of you before, He's going to take care of you later, and He's taking care of you now. So we need to remember that Jesus' love is everlasting. That no matter what we're going through, He is with us. That He is waiting right around the corner to embrace you. You just have to let Him.